themselves can get the right information, and that's what connected development, the Follow the Money network, does itself. So with that, anyways, because we've heard about the release of the 9.2 billion, it means that updates on contractor means to procure clean scopes. You already gave us an update on that, I guess. So we can go through the general updates. I'm very sure some of us here must have been in several meetings. Perhaps the Ministry of Women Affairs themselves, or NOA, if you've been in any meeting with the Ministry of Environment, or if there's an NGO that is already working with the Ministry of Environment that will, yes, inform these stakeholders gathering on, yes, important updates. If you have Ministry of Women Affairs, if it's for rural women, then perhaps maybe they would, perhaps, we're not saying there was, perhaps there must have been a linkage with the Ministry of Women Affairs in, yes, or maybe you've heard something like, oh, 1,000 or 100,000 clean cook stoves will be coming to the Ministry of Women Affairs. So we can have general updates and document this as well. So I open the floor to general updates on news concerns. So
actually, the what I want to discuss is not, it's just maybe there's no the Great Green Wall project. There was a Great Green Wall project on this thing, and there's a gender component that has to do with all the space stove and all these things. The rural movement that was carried out last year. Different sectors, environments were the key need, and we're part of it. That's Women Affairs was part of it. And we carried out our own aspect of this clean stove and all this thing. But on this particular issue, we only heard it on news and we had nothing to do with it. So we've not heard anything. But what I'm trying to say is that if there's anything that has to do with they distributing this thing or it getting to the people, we always get informed. So we are part of that. And on this Great Green Wall project, there's an aspect on alternative energy, which has to do with clean stoves too, that Women Affairs was part of last year. So, but on this particular stove issue, this particular 9.2 billion, we came here to also source some information to know exactly what it's all about. Thank you.
Can I say something? Okay. We were invited to form part of the implementation committee for this food stove scheme by the Ministry of Environment. We had a meeting last month, or towards the end of January, I'm not sure the exact date, with Jatu and a couple of other NGOs and journalists who were also invited to be part of this committee. Basically, the committee is supposed to help enforce transparency towards the distribution of these clean cook stoves. From that meeting, some highlights. We learned that part of there were some concerns. People, wanted to know what is really the selection stroke distribution criteria. Who really gets these stoves? When you're talking of rural women, we have so many women, and we have so many rural communities. So we got the feedback that these are the women that need to tell them that actually the energy for women, that they are going to be given this clean cook stoves to. And we asked what kind of vehicle are you going to use. There's a woman-to-woman campaign, which they say is going on, and it's part of what one of the vehicles they are going to use in order to spread the gospel of this clean cook stove. And one of the areas of concern was actually awareness. It's practically a purchase and distribution contract, but RUWES says they're more concerned about trying to spread the gospel of clean cooking amongst rural women, because we have about 95,000 deaths annually, Nigerian women and children from smoke-related diseases. So RUWES is saying they are just not interested in distributing these clean foods. They also want to raise this awareness that we need to change the way we cook. A woman doesn't have to die because she wants to feed her family. And some of the things we discussed, I mean, Ms. Bahija said, we have funds for purchase, we have funds for distribution, but we don't have funds to create awareness. We don't have funds. This is feedback. We're giving feedback. We don't have funds to create awareness, and we don't have funds to monitor as well. Who gets these stoves? Whether these stoves, things like that. So it was also a call on the NGOs and CSOs present at that meeting. Please, is there any way you can contribute towards, the loops, the spaces that we've identified where we cannot reach ourselves? There's a toolkit actually that has been developed for monitoring. It's like a web portal, and it's like for data management for NGOs and evaluation, monitoring and evaluation, MSRI toolkit. But it's not working yet, and RUWES says they need support in this. We saw like the skeletal framework of it. We also got the gist, of course, that there were no monies yet. No monies yet have been released for the cook stove. But we also learned that the contractor, I would say the contractor because no name of any contractor was ever mentioned in the meeting. The contractor has up to 150,000 stoves ready, but they will not distribute these stoves or hand it over, before any monies have been received. And maybe they want some form of advanced payment guarantee. I'm not sure how it works. You would know better. And then, as I said earlier, RUWES says they do not intend for this to just be a purchasing and supply project, but they want this to be like a vehicle to spread the message of renewable products. Another thing came up in the meeting, and we said, fine, by the time we finish distributing these clean cook stoves, I think it's supposed to last 5 years, the project. This is just like the first batch. Yes? Am I right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And we asked, when you finish distributing these clean cook stoves, or when you finish the first phase, or whatever it is, these clean cook stoves need fuels. Now, you're talking of the real energy poor rural women. How are they going to get these fuels? How are they going to get the briquettes? How are they going to get the LPGs in quantities they can afford? So, we got some feedback, they're working with suppliers who will try and make the fuels come in little, portable containers, or, so that whatever they are spending on firewood, they won't spend more than that to purchase these fuels. That was the feedback we got. How are these fuels going to reach the women? And then they started, the economic viability aspect of this project, hoping to pull women in to also, supply these fuels, trying to link the suppliers and the distribution chain, in these rural areas. I don't know how that's going to work, but that's the plan. Because at the Clean Cook Stove Fair, a lot of people came up and said, look, we have gone into the rural area, the deep rural area. And sometimes when you give these women, already there's been some distribution from other NGOs. When you give these women the clean cook stoves, it's like, I have arrived. Like my neighbor passed my neighbor, when you have children. They just put the thing there in the middle of the room, just so anybody that comes through. So that's the issue of, are they even going to use these clean cooks? And that's where the problem of awareness came in. What kind of message are you just talking about climate change? The average woman doesn't care. Doesn't even understand what climate change is. She'll tell you the forest has been there 100 years before her and it will keep on growing. It's not in her interest. So how are you going to reach, what kind of message is going to come to heart? Okay, we're going to talk about the health aspect. The women there find akara and cooking with and they'll tell you that my 4 great-grandmothers, when this is what they used, that she was 90 before she died. So what are you talking about health? We said, okay, who are we going to target with this awareness campaign? Maybe we leave the older ones and we target the younger ones, the new brides, and the men as well. Because the men are the ones going to bring out the money to buy. They have to understand that, look, if you buy this, you actually get, economic returns. It's cheaper in the long run and things like that. So, looking at all those angles of how to best get the buy-in for this rural women. Because after you distribute it, if they are not convinced that it works, if they will not use it. And at the end of the day, the whole aim and goal will be defeated. You're trying to reduce the death rate from inhalation. It's not going to work. So that was part of what was being discussed. We also discussed, what was communicated to us in that meeting was that this Clean Cook Stove scheme will also link up to revitalizing some of the abandoned renewable government projects. For example, there's a metal recycling project in Sokoto. They're going to kickstart it. There's a plastic recycling here in Abuja. They're also with the hope that it's going to be kickstarted. For, in order to stimulate local production of cook stoves as well. Then another question went out and said, look, this 9.2 billion, couldn't it have been used to, stimulate the local markets for this clean cook stove, to help the markets already, to help those who are already into this business, and somehow subsidize it for those who are going to buy it? Well, we really did not get any concrete answer. I think government wants to do this and they will do it anyhow by any means, and this is something they want to do. We were also talking about how these clean cook stoves will get to the women, and Dr. already mentioned that from some feedback, I'm not sure where you got that from, that the governor's wives would sort of be in charge and they know how to disperse it to the rural communities. Yeah. So we learned in that meeting that the wives of the local government chairmen will appoint a WUES, representative in each of the local governments. So it starts from there. So they're dealing maybe from the states, and then they go down to the local government, and then they go down to the various communities. The truth of the matter is not very clear how these women are going to get it. Initially, the first news that came out was that, they're going to use those who are already on the e-wallet system. Those who already purchase agricultural products using the e-wallet system. But we got a big shout in the meeting saying, no, where did we hear that from? But that was in the news. That was the first, so, madam, do you agree? Was that the first, that e-wallet system?
Yeah.
From the no, I'm not talking about, I'm talking in general.
Yeah.
When did you first how these women, was it from that e-wallet system?
Yeah.
So we have about 2 million women, exactly. But in that meeting, we got like, no, that's not how it's going to be distributed. Because the argument was that if you're targeting energy for women, and you're saying you're going to pull out women from the e-wallet system, they're not really energy poor. They are not. They're on the e-wallet system for crying out loud. So, so we're not really sure how this is going to play out at the end of the day. I don't think anybody's really sure how it's going to get. Yes, it's really a trial and error kind of thing, and I don't know. So those are the highlights. And we were supposed to have another meeting where we have like a timeline for the rollout, of the Cook Stove initiative. What are they doing by this date? What are they doing by this date? And this month, I think 7th, 8th, 9th, where you have like the International Women's Day celebration, they're supposed to do something. 8th of March, they're supposed to do something like a launch, and start with the distribution of the free Cook Stove. So that's where we're at. That's the information I have, from that meeting. So I don't know if anybody had any comments. I was jumping from one part to the other, but that's really how the meeting went.
Maybe I should quickly ask which day was the meeting held?
This was like.
And how many people were at the meeting?
Oh, we were no more than 12. There were some journalists there, and a couple of NGOs there. Maybe 3 or 4 NGOs, journalists, and the rest were from the Ministry of Environment. So that was it.
Okay. Thank you for